This day and time. What happened today, years ago?
Have you ever stopped to think about how one single date, famous for one big thing, might actually hold the keys to, well, multiple really unexpected turning points in a nation's story?
It's a fascinating thought, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, for most of us in the U.S., July 4th immediately makes you think Independence Day.
Right. Fireworks, barbecues.
Exactly, the celebration of nationhood. But today, we're doing a deep dive. We've got some really interesting excerpts from our sources to unpack how this exact same date is etched with other extraordinary, sometimes pretty surprising events that profoundly shaped the United States. Our mission really is to pull back those layers, see how maybe coincidence, destiny, crucial decisions all kind of came together on this one day.
And it's truly remarkable. These events, I mean, they're separated by decades, but they really do offer this unique, almost like a telescopic view.
Yeah,
into American expansion, leadership challenges, periods of really intense struggle. We'll be looking at these foundational moments, exploring their lasting impact.
and showing how history is often way more tangled up and surprising than it might seem at first glance.
Precisely.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
And speaking of foundational moments and just the sheer scale of American expansion, it feels like we have to start with the Louisiana Purchase.
Oh, definitely.
What still gets me is that this huge expansion, the one that really redefined the United States, was publicly announced right around July 4th, 1803.
That timing is something else.
So walk us through it. What was the scene like in 1803? What was President Jefferson thinking? And how did this war happening way over in Europe kind of play into his hands?
Okay, so back then, the U.S. under Jefferson had this laser focus,
Yeah,
securing the port of New Orleans.
right, down the Mississippi.
Exactly. Controlling New Orleans was just crucial for trade, for farmers getting goods out, for, well, westward migration, really the future of the country as it was expanding.
Okay.
Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, you've got Napoleon Bonaparte leading France, and he is desperate for cash.
Oh.
He needs funds to keep his wars going in Europe. He was stretched really thin financially.
So the U.S. spots an opportunity. They send envoys, Robert Livingston and James Monroe, over to Paris. Their job, buy New Orleans. Simple enough, right?
That was the plan. Buy a city. But then Napoleon does something completely, well, unexpected.
He throws them a curveball.
A massive one. They're there to negotiate for New Orleans, and Napoleon, sort of out of the blue, offers to sell the entire Louisiana territory.
The whole thing, not just the city.
The whole vast area that France controlled in North America, it was an absolutely astonishing proposition.
Wow. So they jumped on it.
Well, yeah. The deal was signed pretty quickly in Paris. That was April 1803. And then the news, which was just, earth-shattering for the young republic.
I bet.
It was widely publicized back in America right around July 4th of that year.
That is just incredible timing. So you suddenly, almost overnight, doubled the size of the country. What was the immediate impact? How did that change things?
Oh, the significance is just, it's hard to overstate. It literally did nearly double the size of the existing United States.
Just like that.
Just like that. Think about it. It instantly opened up this unimaginable path for massive westward expansion. It secured critical waterways, obviously the Mississippi being key.
Right.
And it provided just enormous land resources for generations. It really stands as one of the most pivotal moments in U.S. territorial history.
And Jefferson was okay with this. I thought there were some questions.
That's the fascinating part. Even President Jefferson himself, despite the, obvious massive benefit, he initially wrestled with it.
Really, why?
He had constitutional concerns. He worried whether the president actually had the authority under the Constitution to acquire such a huge territory like that.
The strict constructionist dilemma.
Exactly. But in the end, the sheer national interest, the enormous strategic and economic benefit, it just outweighed those concerns. He made the call and moved forward.
Wow. It really shows that tension, doesn't it? Between sticking to the letter of the law and, well, pragmatic leadership, even back then.
It really does. A defining moment.
Okay, so from this massive nation-altering purchase, also tied to July 4th, let's shift gears. Let's talk about something profoundly symbolic and, frankly, quite poignant.
Yes. I think I know where you're going.
It happened exactly 50 years after the Declaration of Independence was signed and announced. This one feels almost too perfect, like something out of a story.
It absolutely does feel that way. So the year is 1826. It's the 50th anniversary, the golden anniversary of the U.S. Declaration of Independence.
A huge milestone.
A huge milestone. And what's truly remarkable is that two of the absolute giants, the key founding fathers who signed that declaration and who both later became presidents,
Jefferson and Adams.
Thomas Jefferson and John Adams, they'd both survived for 5 decades after the Revolution. They'd seen the nation they helped create actually survive and grow.
Which was not guaranteed back then.
Not at all. And the key event, the thing that just makes you pause, is what happens on that specific day, July 4th, 1826.
Tell us.
On July 4th, 1826, both Thomas Jefferson and John Adams passed away.
On the same day.
On the exact same day. Jefferson died first in the afternoon down at Monticello in Virginia. Adams followed just hours later up at Quincy, Massachusetts.
Okay, that's genuinely goosebump-inducing. Exactly 50 years later. What did people make of that at the time? The reaction must have been incredible.
Oh, it was seen as just this extraordinary, deeply symbolic event across the entire nation. I mean, the simultaneous death of these two titans of the revolution.
Both former presidents.
Both former presidents on the 50th birthday of the nation they helped found. Many people interpreted it as, well, divine providence.
Like a sign.
Yes, like a powerful affirmation of the sanctity of Independence Day itself. It really reinforced this deep belief in their fated, intertwined roles in American history. It was almost like history itself had written their final chapter together.
Wow. And wasn't there something about Adams's last words, something incredibly poignant?
Yes, absolutely. It adds another layer of just profoundness to it all. John Adams's last recorded words were apparently, "Thomas Jefferson still survives."
Oh, no.
He had no idea. He was completely unaware that his friend, his old rival, his fellow revolutionary, had actually died hours before him down in Virginia.
That's heartbreaking. It really speaks to that complex relationship they had over their whole lives.
It really does. Rivalry, friendship, shaping a nation together right up until the very end on the very same day.
It's hard to imagine a more fitting, if incredibly sad, kind of historical bookend for them. Okay, so we had a vast expansion, these stated farewells. Let's shift focus again to a completely different kind of pivotal moment linked to July 4th.
Right.
This one born out of intense conflict, a critical turning point during the American Civil War, a day that became about Union victory, but also for some, a day of really enduring pain.
Yes, we're talking about Vicksburg, 1863.
Set the scene for us. The Civil War is raging.
It is. And Vicksburg, Mississippi is crucially important. Why? Because it was basically the last major Confederate stronghold that controlled the Mississippi River.
The whole river.
Pretty much. It gave them command over a huge stretch. And that river was a vital waterway for supplies, for communication, for everything. So for the Union, taking Vicksburg was a top strategic priority.
Because it would split the Confederacy.
Exactly. Capturing it would effectively cut the Confederacy in two, severing the western states from the eastern ones. A major blow.
And how did it play out? Was it a quick battle?
Not at all. The campaign for Vicksburg was long, it was arduous, it was complex. Union forces, led by General Ulysses S. Grant,
Right, okay.
they successfully besieged the city. That started in late May 1863. And a siege back then meant, well, continuous shelling, brutal conditions inside the city, and eventually severe food shortages. Starvation became a real threat.
Grim.
Very grim. Ultimately, the Confederate forces under General John C. Pemberton, they just couldn't hold out any longer. They were forced to surrender to Grant and the Union Army.
And the date of that surrender?
July 4th, 1863.
Independence Day again. How significant was this surrender, particularly coming, as I recall, right after another huge battle?
Yes, that's key. Vicksburg's fall on July 4th, combined with the massive Union victory up at Gettysburg, which has just ended the day before on July 3rd.
Right, Gettysburg.
Those two events, back to back, are widely considered the decisive turning point of the entire Civil War.
Really the turning point?
Many historians argue yes. It gave the Union complete control of the Mississippi River, finally achieved that strategic goal of splitting the Confederacy, and it dealt just a severe blow to the South's ability to fight and, importantly, its morale. It really shifted the momentum of the war.
You also mentioned enduring pain, though. What's the story there?
Well, there's an interesting kind of somber detail. General Pemberton, the Confederate commander, He was actually a Northerner by birth, serving the South.
Oh, interesting.
And he specifically chose July 4th, Independence Day, as the date for the surrender.
Why would he do that?
Part of his calculation, is believed, was hoping maybe to get more lenient, more generous surrender terms from Grant, appealing to that sense of shared nationhood, perhaps.
Did it work?
The terms were relatively standard for the time, but the symbolism for the people of Vicksburg, surrendering their city on the nation's birthday, it was deeply humiliating.
I can imagine.
So much so that the city of Vicksburg didn't officially celebrate the 4th of July for many, many decades after the war ended. Almost 80 years, in fact.
Wow. That's a powerful reminder of how deep those wounds were and how history casts such a long shadow.
It certainly is a very different kind of July 4th legacy for that city.
Okay, so let's try and bring these threads together. When you look at the Louisiana Purchase announcement, the deaths of Jefferson and Adams, the Vicksburg surrender, what we've really uncovered today is this profound pattern, isn't it?
It really seems that way.
July 4th isn't just fireworks and parades. It's a date that's woven so deeply into the fabric of American history. It's witnessed these moments of incredible expansion, these symbolic farewells from the founders themselves, and these absolutely pivotal struggles that determine the nation's future. It's like a multi-layered historical canvas.
Absolutely. And these events, they're distinct, obviously separated by time and circumstance, but looking at them together, it really deepens our understanding of the nation's journey, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It shows you how key figures, critical moments, huge decisions, sometimes maybe by design, other times by just remarkable coincidence, they all converged on this single, highly symbolic day.
It's more than just facts and dates.
Exactly. It's about appreciating that layered narrative of history, how certain dates can just absorb and reflect so much more meaning than we might initially realize.
So it leaves you wondering, doesn't it? Given how profoundly July 4th has shaped the United States, way beyond its original meaning, what other dates out there in history might hold similar hidden layers?
That's a great question.
Layers of interconnected events that maybe irrevocably altered the course of a nation, or maybe even the world. Think about what else you might discover if you went on a deep dive into other seemingly singular dates in history.
Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and ring that bell for more history daily.